What's going on, y'all, out there in Facebook and YouTube live land? On Another Line Live starts here in just a second. Today we'll be talking about 5 things I'll never go fishing without. And this doesn't have anything to do with baits, rods, reels, tackle, nothing like that. We're going to talk about 5 things that I will never leave home without when I'm going fishing, or I hope that the person I'm fishing with will have. So after this short intro, let's get into it.
Gotta get your arms way up in a cast and set the hook on smallmouth bass, and then you'll understand. Gotta get your hands on a Shimano reel and a G-Loom is right. I bet you like what you feel. Step on the deck, give it a whirl. Hello and welcome to my world.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to this episode of On Another Line Live. My name is Tyler Waller. If you don't know that already, I'm sure you do. But for those of you guys that may be new out there that are following along, get a lot of people from other countries this week, which has been really, really cool. So if you're one of those people that are following from other countries, I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. We like to talk about fishing here. I am by no means a professional, and I don't claim to be. I like to talk about fishing, I like to learn fishing, and we like to build a community here at On Another Line. Today's episode is going to be talking about 5 things that I will never go fishing without if I have the opportunity to not go fishing without it. Again, one of the things I'm going to be talking about is, some stuff that I take fishing with me. Not talking about, baits or anything like that. Hey, Matthew, what's up, buddy? The hammer himself, Matthew Strickland. Thanks for joining tonight, man. So again, we're going to be talking about 5 things that I personally will never go fishing without, and I'm going to tell you why that is. There's a couple of things on here that I feel like that was overpriced initially when I first picked them up. But I will tell you, after learning how to use them or learning what I can do with them, they're definitely not something that I would think twice about purchasing. Here we go, from here on out, no doubt. So one of those, so if we look at this thing here, basically, again, 5 things I'll never fish without, no baits included. We're not talking about baits. We're not talking about rod and reels. We're not talking about lines, stuff like this. I'm talking about stuff that I've picked up over the years that I fish with, that I absolutely love. And I'm going to tell you why that is and why I think you should buy this. First and foremost, very few of the products that you're going to see on this presentation are sponsored. I do have affiliation with a couple of these companies. But I do not want you to think that actually just one of the companies actually, I don't know, 1.5 maybe. We'll talk about it in just a second. But these are things that I've used for a long time, and I've been affiliated with the company after having a great relationship with them because I've used their products for so long. One of the very first things that I will never go fishing without is something that my buddy Kyle Malone bought me for Christmas a few years ago. They're made by Mustad. They're 5-inch split ring pliers. I will tell you that I very rarely use these split ring pliers as split ring pliers. Hey, Randy, what's up, buddy? Thanks for joining. I very rarely use them as split ring pliers. They're really great for split ring pliers. They do really well for that. But the cutting section of these Mustad pliers are absolutely second to none. They will cut through 100-pound braid with they don't even look, twice. It's going to cut through them like butter. Another things that I really like is that they're small. You're talking about 5 inches, not very big. That's from tip to bottom of the butt here, about 5 inches. You can put them in your pocket. I always throw them in my Black Moon backpack from Shimano and take them with me as a co-angler or wherever I'm at. I have 2 pair of them now. I have one in my boat and one in my Black Moon backpack if I take as a co-angler. That way that I have them with me all the time. They cut mono, obviously, cuts braid like butter. The split ring pliers are great. But there's been a lot of times that I've grabbed these things and used them in my boat. A lot of times I'm especially like talking about Great Lakes fishing. You're talking about going to like Lake St. Clair and things like that. You're fishing a lot of braid to leader in my case anyway. I fish almost exclusively like 15 to 30 pound Power Pro and then going to some sort of a leader, normally about an 8-pound Sunline FC Sniper leader. But these things right here, tying like an FG knot or something like Unity knot, something really, really good. A lot of times people have a qualm about, or a problem with the Unity knot is because they have a hard time getting the knots, the tag ends cut off of the knots to get them really close and really small knot diameter. And you'll hear that stuff going through your guides, especially if you're using a really high tensile strength, something like Torzite or something that's on G Loomis and stuff like that, something that's really, really hard. You'll hear it going through your guides, and that ticks a lot of people off. But these things right here are about $8. They do have a newer model. This is the one that I have right here. They lock together, so you can pinch them together, and I got that little lock down here that will hold the things together. It's another reason I like them. They make them even more compact, but it is spring loaded, and it does allow you to cut, and it returns back to its normal spot, which is great. Again, really small, fairly simplistic, and it works really great. And I just got ahead of myself, actually. First and foremost, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. Mine was pretty epic. Had some folks over. Cooked some dinner here. Cooked a ham that Misty got from work, and I deep fried a turkey, and we had so much food, and there's still so much food in our refrigerator. It's uncanny. It's crazy. So I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. And again, if you guys are just now joining On Another Line live back since I've been back, my goal is to do a live show every week, every Tuesday from 8:30 to about 9:30, roughly, if it lasts that long. I do have some new people coming on that's going to be cool for us to talk about. One of my favorite shows that I ever did, several years ago, or actually it was last year, I was getting somebody on that I could talk to and bounce ideas off from. And we had some people from Bass over. We had all kind of things. I got some pros on the line. I have some average Joes like myself talking about fishing, and I also have some bait companies or bait manufacturers that we're going to be talking to just to get their idea of what's happening there. So that's what's coming up this season. You're going to see more content from me than you ever have before. I had that going on this year, and obviously life happened. So we're pushing more content out. You're going to see at least one video a week plus a live video every week. And we'll be talking about looking at this stuff as having the potential to get 6,000 subscribers, which is I'm on pace right now to hit 4,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So I got about 4 weeks to do that, which I think that'll be no problem. I'm right at 39, like 40 or something. So I only have about 60 more subscribers to go there. But my goal is a 2,000 subscriber goal next year. And I intend to do that by producing more and better content, things that you guys like to see. I have several guys lined up. Like I'm going to be getting with Gene Jensen, Fluke Master, and a few other people that are just absolute hammers on the YouTube channel, and getting them on there and doing some fishing with them. And that's stuff coming down the pipe too. I'm also getting back into tournament fishing this year, which is something I really haven't done in about 2 years. And I'm going to be doing a better job of showing the absolute, ins and outs of what I do as a tournament angler, from going to the meetings to talking to to my boaters and things. I'll still be fishing as a co-angler this year, more than likely. But I'm probably going to fish some of the Buckeye series on the BFL, and Kyle and I are talking about fishing the team series for the Ohio Bass Nation. As soon as they release their schedule, we're going to figure that out and make sure that works for us. What's up, Chris Martin? Hey, buddy. We talked about it earlier, but shoot me a message, man. Let's do the podcast you're talking about. So Chris is also a hammer YouTuber. Does a lot of catfishing, a lot of bass fishing in our area too. If you're interested in him, go check him out. But he's messaged me today about hopping on his podcast. Would love to do that. So go ahead and check him out if you don't care. Chris, if you want to drop your YouTube channel below, great. But with that being said, that's what you guys are going to be seeing from us. So let's jump back into the spot here. And the thing about this is that, well, starting with this right here again, split ring pliers on steroids. These are 5-inch Mustad split ring pliers. They cut through braid like butter. They're amazing pliers. They're like less than $10, like $8 for the new pair. And the only thing different is the handles. I think the new pair are blue and they have more of a rounded type than this, but they absolutely work. Mustad, again, I think they're KVD branded now. I think that's probably why they're different, but they are amazing pliers. Yep, Misty, I agree. Gene Jensen and Ronnie Moore. I think Ronnie Moore was probably my favorite show that we've ever done. Ronnie Moore was the resident bass talker from BASS. He does Bass Live and things like that. Was an amazing dude. And he threw down some knowledge for about an hour and a half. We were on there almost 2 hours, and I was like, man, we should probably hop off here, and he's like, oh yeah, no problem, man. I could talk all night. I'm glad you stopped, segued into that, because we were 2 hours into it, and I get, we had an hour-long conversation after the show ended. Amazing guy, a lot of knowledge there, amazing, cool stuff. Man, I haven't. I fished a tournament on the river, caught a muskie there for a while on the river, but I have not been able to get out. I've been out a little bit. I went to Lake Erie 2 weekends ago, walleye fishing. If you missed that video, it's on my YouTube channel. We went out and absolutely smashed them. Obviously, we were on a charter boat, but it was good stuff, man. I hope you guys are out there catching them. Yeah, man. Chase Sansom, another dude working for BASS now. Congratulations, buddy. First time really seeing you in there and got to congratulate you. I've been seeing those pictures down there in Alabama, so maybe if I get down that way, we can go do some fishing, do some blogging about it. I'd love it. Next thing on my list, this net right here is the most badass net on the planet, bar none, hands down. You name it, you're not going to find a better net than this. Are you going to find a more expensive net? Probably not. This thing is $134, but it is amazing. This thing is absolutely amazing. A couple of things that you may notice here is that you have a really, bulky handle. If you've never looked at this is an Ego S2 slider net. I have the medium and the medium handle, medium net. It fits right in my rod locker, which I'll talk about in just a second. But right here on this, I'll make this full screen so you can see a little better. But right here on the center section of the handle, where that red kind of like chunky section is, just below that, there's a black button. If you press that black button and pull the back of that black handle, this thing actually extends out into, a crazy amount. So the handle extends from 29 inches to 60 inches. So it goes down to about 30 inches. You can put it in your in your rod locker or what have you. My boat's an older boat. It's a 2006 Stratus. It doesn't have a place for like a net behind the seats. It doesn't have a net like Rangers do up underneath places like that. So I really like the idea that I can put it in my rod locker on top of my rods. Keeps my rods all pressed down, so when I'm running, it's not, my rods are not beating off of each other. It does float, which is really handy. I've been with people and their net's blown out and it sinks faster than I don't know what, but it does sink a ton. These things will float. And again, one of the things that I will tell you is that they make a compact, a small, a medium, large, and extra large as far as the hoop size goes. The large will not fit in my rod locker, so I was lucky enough that Misty actually bought it for me for Christmas or our birthday one day. I can't remember that, but she bought it for me, and I absolutely fell in love with it because she just randomly grabbed the right one, and they sell them locally. Tackle Box has them. I'm pretty sure that Borders has them over in Ashland as well. But you can go over there and check them out, and you can see them working. Again, you press that little black button and you pull the back of the handle, and the whole net extends. So you get the idea. You get the ability to have a really long extended reach for the net without having to have it, a really long net that you're just having to like lay on the front of your seat or whatever, like you see a lot of people doing. Another cool thing about this is that it's two-handed operation, but there's no when you press that black button, it's all one, fell swoop. It's all one movement. You're not going to have to like press a button and pull a handle and do that. You pull that handle and press that button at the same time, and it extends out up to 60 inches. And that is on the medium one. If you get into the compact, it's actually shorter than that. If you get into the large, extra large, they extend longer than that too. And I think that this S2 medium, when it's actually compact or when it's actually slid down, it's slid inside of it to the smallest deal. It has 30 pounds of weight capacity, and if it's fully extended, it's only down to like 22 pounds. So only losing like 8 pounds of functionality there. And I'm a bass fisherman here, so if I catch something that's 20 plus pounds, probably a sheephead or something I don't want in my boat anyway. So I'm usually messing with it outside of the boat, or I don't think that you'd have trouble putting stuff in your boat that was heavier than that. You just probably watch out. One of the things that I will tell you, though, that I have noticed is that I want to make sure if you get one of these things, make sure you get the rubber net material. They make two different ones. They make a black one and a clear one. I have the black one. I'm not sure the difference between the black and clear. I couldn't tell you. I don't know if fish cannot see it underwater when you're dipping them up or whatever. I don't know. I do know the clear one's actually a little bit more expensive than the black one, but be sure to get the rubber net material and not the nylon. Because if you grab a nylon net of any kind, you throw a crankbait 6 miles around a net. It doesn't even have to go in the net. Next thing you know, you look at it, and the net's going to be all tangled up in that crankbait. It's terrible. So make sure that if you go into this Ego S2 slider, and the thing about it is they have a ton of different stuff. Like, for example, here is their catalog, and they have a lot of stuff. I picked this up at iCast. Again, I'm not affiliated with this company at all, but you can see there's a ton of different nets in here. They have a pile of different things that you can actually put on the net. The cool thing about this is they actually, if you can see this over here, the net actually spins off, and it gives you basically like a paint handle is what it looks like. It's just a threaded, I would say it's the same thread pattern as a paint handle. But you could put like a dock hook on here. You can put a boat hook. You can put like a line retriever. They have a lure retriever that has like chains and stuff on it. So you can put that thing down in the water, hook a crankbait or whatever. These things are $135. So I think I could find a cheaper lure retriever than that, I would say. But they do have that option. You can spin that thing off. One of the downfalls of that thing is that they do kind of come loose every now and again. So you kind of tighten them down a little bit. I don't crank down on mine. It probably would stay if I would really crank down on it, but I don't want to break my stuff. It's been an absolutely phenomenal net. And again, this is not paid promotion, guys. I use this net. I've talked my buddy J.R. White into buying one. Kyle was the first one to buy one. That's why I bought one, because we used his so much. My cousin Josh had one. They're just phenomenal nets. And again, they are the absolute most expensive net on the planet, I think. They're like $135. But they do have really good benefits to them. Like, for example, having the rubber mesh net, the fact that you could take the hoop of the net off, get things like a lure retriever or a dock hook or a deck brush or something to wash your boat with, or a mop. There's a bunch of stuff you can put on there, but absolutely the best net on the planet, no doubt. And again, the medium hoop fits inside my rod locker. Any bigger than that is actually fairly large. A large hoop is a large hoop. They say it's large, and it's definitely large and in charge. So my advice to you, if you're interested in something like this, go to somewhere local that carries them. Excuse me. Like I said, the Tackle Box has them for sure. Borders International has them as well. And I think you can get them at Dick's and places like that. Matter of fact, I would say I know Dick's carries them in our area. And they're probably going to have a bigger, wider selection of all this stuff. So you can go check those out and, make sure that the size that you want, because they do make a huge difference. See what Misty has to say. Took me a minute to figure out how to use this. Push the button and pull, not push the button and push. It's backwards in my eyes. Yeah. So she's right. So, again, if you have the net in your hands, a lot of times I do my left hand, I press the button, and you're going to pull away from your other hand, and that actually extends it out. So you would think that like you would push the net out, but that's not the case. You press the button and you pull away, and then it actually locks in place, and then you can actually, and it goes at intervals, so you don't have to fully extend it. There's like 5 or 6 different latching spots that will actually make contact with it, and it doesn't doesn't require you to fully extend it. All right, so talked about some stuff that I do not have affiliation with. Here is something that I do have affiliation with. But the reason that I say this is the fact that I'm telling you that this is something I'll never go fishing without, not because I'm affiliated with them and I have, I'm an affiliate of their program. I get paid when you buy stuff with my link. That is 100% true. I do get paid if you buy stuff from my link from Yellowtech. But Yolotech has been a company that's something that I've used basically since day one of me filming fishing trips in my bass boat or any other bass boat. Hey Scott, what's up, buddy? Yeah, man. We were driving around. Probably saw it with a load of wood in it. Misty and I took it out to Dad's old deer camp, John Stigler and those things. Needs a little work, but for an 85 Chevy, it ain't bad. But this Yolotech Power Stick 53 again is something that I've used from day one. They make a ton of different products. This is a Yolotech battery pack. It's actually called a juice box with my GoPro Hero 10 on top of it. Used this walleye fishing the other day. But the reason that this thing right here is so handy for me is the fact that I film every second of every day that I go fishing. And it's not, obviously it's because I'm producing content for YouTube, but there is so much stuff that I've captured on film, or not really on film, but captured via camera, digital film, if you will, over the last 5-6 years of fishing, that it's unbelievable. Some of the most prized possessions that I have right now in my arsenal, because of this, was actual fishing footage with my dad over the last few years. So as you guys know, that my dad passed away in April, I have footage now that I can go back and relive these fishing trips that we took in the last 3 years over and over and over. A lot of them are on YouTube. A lot of them I haven't released. A lot of times we go fishing and never catch any fish. So you guys never saw it on YouTube, never saw it on Instagram, TikTok, any places like that. But it is stuff that I still have archived on a hard drive that I can go back and look at that stuff from here on out. Misty caught some really big fish that, we have on film. Misty caught a 5-pounder down at Chickamauga. We go to Lake St. Clair and absolutely smash on smallmouth. There's just so much fishing with my buddies, Kyle and Dusty, and there's just so many. Brandon Buckner, J.R. White, all these guys that go fishing with me all the time. These are days that I can relive on the water, whether you guys out there on YouTube see them or not. A lot of times, again, I fish because I'm going to be fishing anyway, right? But I needed someplace. When I very first started fishing and recording my videos, is that I would see days where I'd be fishing tournaments, and there would be a period of at least a half hour a day I'd have to stop and go back and change the battery in my GoPro, because I don't know if you guys own a GoPro like this, but the battery life on any GoPro or really any action camera sucks. Oh my God, is it terrible. These GoPro Hero 10 has a battery. It looks like this. They last on average about 35 to 45 minutes. If you're recording something like 1080p, if you're talking about 4K or even 5.4K, what the new ones do, you're talking 15 to 20 minutes of battery life total, tops. So being able to power my action camera all day is definitely a game changer for me. The ability to use looping and the GoPro voice navigation. I would say that there's other action cameras out there on the planet that do voice activation or voice commands, but I do know GoPro does it because that's what I exclusively use right now. And you guys know I've had some ups and downs with GoPro, but the ability to turn my camera on looping, it's crazy to think about. But like this GoPro Hero 10 has a feature. I'm sure this battery right here is dead, or I would show you. There is a feature on here called looping. And what looping does, I'm sure you guys have heard me talking about looping for however long, but yeah, this thing's dead. Looping, actually, the best way that I can describe it to you is it records the first 5 minutes of footage in time. So like if I hit record right here, I'd hit this record button, it actually starts looping and it starts capturing the next 5 minutes in time. And then when it gets to that 6th minute, it goes back and actually starts writing over that first minute of footage that was actually captured. So basically what it's doing, it's almost like a snake eating its own tail, where it just keeps looping and keeps looping and keeps looping. So if I'm out there fishing for 5 hours, which is not unheard of around here, and not catch a fish, I don't have to go back and dig through 5 hours of footage. Let's say that I fish an 8-hour tournament and I don't catch a single fish until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It used to be that I would have to dig through hours and hours and hours of footage, or try to find things on the bank that were in those clips and try to find when I caught those fish. And it was an absolute nightmare for me learning how to edit video. Everything that I've learned with video editing, I've learned in the gutter. To be honest with you, the reason I started learning video editing is because we used to run an outdoor hunting production company called Downwind Productions for a long time. We did nothing but exclusively hunt turkey and whitetail. I didn't start filming fishing until after the fact of kind of losing interest in whitetail hunting. And I had all this equipment and I had all this knowledge and know-how. I was like, shoot, I'm going to start fishing. And I've always fished, but I started fishing competitively. And I started capturing these moments. Matter of fact, the very first time I ever put a GoPro on our boat between me and Kyle, we went to Grayson Lake and sacked up one of the biggest bags of any bass I've ever seen weighed in at Grayson Lake ever. We had right at 20 pounds and 5 fish. And if you've ever fished Grayson Lake, you know that is a hammer sack. We had an absolute day on the water. And I was able to go back and relive that because of my yellow tip power stick. Had that on there, didn't have to go in and change batteries or anything like that. It was amazing. Again, 5-minute loops and the GoPro voice command. So you can say GoPro start recording, and that will start the loop of 5 minutes. And then once it's, you catch a fish, let's say that it's 1 o'clock, as the thing I was just talking about, you say GoPro stop recording. It only saves the last 5 minutes of time onto your SD card. Used to be you had to have giant SD cards, 128 gig, 64 gig, something like that. Even the newer ones will take 256 gig cards. But it would take a couple of those a day to capture all that footage. Well, I fished for a week straight at Lake St. Clair, absolutely smashing fish for 3 or 4 days with my dad and Dusty a few years ago. And I used one solid 128 gig card for the entire 4 days where it was Lake St. Clair. And I still had about 35 minutes of footage that I could actually record from there, which is a huge deal. Again, Yellowtech Power Stick 53. It'll power any action camera you have. They do make some that have navigation lights, like this one right here. This navigation light right here snaps on top, so it actually, you can run these things from, if you're fishing from from dusk to dawn, early in the morning, late at night, early in the morning, something like that. Keeps the law enforcement guys out of your boat. Pretty daggone cool stuff. And let's see what we got next. If you, again, another company I'm not affiliated with, Cal Coast makes some really cool stuff. But if you are a co-angler of any sort, or you move around different boats and you fish with a lot of people and you want the ability to travel with a bunch of rods at the same time, all in one small package, this right here is the absolute berries, man. This is a Cal Coast Rod Mule. It has 2 Velcro straps. This picture right here only has one of them attached, but there are 2 Velcro straps. The red stuff at the top there, the tip is made out of the same stuff that a rod tube is. Looks like there's there's only 6 rods on this Rod Mule right here. I've had up to 12 in mine. It is a little tight fit when you put 12 in there, and I only carry 12 if I'm going to fish with JR, or I'm going to fish with Kyle or somebody like that, where they're not going to get perturbed if I have a ton of fishing rods with them. But I'm not going to carry this many rods to go to fish a BFL or whatever. 1, you don't have time to fish that many rods in a BFL. 2, a lot of boaters get ticked off when you bring 200 pounds of weight in their boat, which I get sometimes. Sweet. I love it when we get some spam. Well, it looks like they had a little porn spam there. This is a child-friendly environment here, so block that, joker. Anyway, so again, Rod Mule right here, absolutely one of my favorite things to throw in my boat. I have it in my boat all the time. It is an absolute must-have for any co-angler or somebody that moves different rods to different boats. It is absolutely the cheapest thing, which, by the way, we were looking a second ago. The Power Stick is about right at $100. You can get a whole kit for about 130, which gives you everything you ever need: cable, some waterproof silicone. But just a pro tip on that: if you want to save some dough on that, only thing their silicone putty is silicone earplugs that you would get in like Walmart's swimming aisle. That's all it is. It's silicone earplugs. You can go out there and buy it. It's going to be like $1.50 at Walmart. It's going to be like $10 on their website. I like Yolotech, but save yourself some dough there. Go out and grab those silicone earplugs. Call it a day. But the Coast Rod Mule compact design allows you to carry 2 to 12 rods in there. I always have my rods in rod tubes and then stick them in the Coast Rod Mule. This allows me as a co-angler to move my rods from one side of one boat to another. It also keeps them protected because they're all together in one, and they'll keep your rods from getting broken singularly. One of the biggest things that I could tell you is that this is my dummy fault. Back when a couple years ago, if you guys have been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I had some lower unit issues on my E-Tech. Misty and I actually hit something out of Grayson and it destroyed my lower unit. It was like $6,000 worth of damage, like $5,700 worth of damage for a new lower unit. But we were leaving there from getting my boat, and I had these rods in the back of my truck because I just come back from Lake St. Clair fishing with Kyle. And I put the old junk case of that lower unit in the back of my truck, not thinking that it would slide around. Well, first red light, I hear it slide, and I know I probably have $4,000 worth of fishing rods back there in this Coast Rod Mule. And I am just absolutely like, I'm shaking. I'm just so nervous. I'm about to puke because I know that I've just broken 10 NRX, or G, they were all Loomis and like, and Shimano Poison Adrena rods. That was absolutely sick. Pulled over at the next gas station, get out there, fearing for the worst, opened the bed, and the case had slid all the way up. But where all those rods were really close and tight, it actually just pushed the rods all together as one big group, and they all flexed, and that's what actually caught the case of my lower unit, my old one, and not a single one of them broke, which I got absolutely lucky on that. I wouldn't recommend that, trying that Coast Rod Mule out on that, but it is something that I definitely seen happen, and it did save it. It's not super bad for where you're getting. I think they're about $50. You can throw 2 to 12 rods that have those 2 Velcro strips that are down. They're like neoprene Velcro straps going down the rods that keep them in a tight bundle. And then the last one that goes around the butts of the reels is actually it's a Velcro. It's not a Velcro. Sorry. It's a buckle, but it has like a nylon strap that goes around it. And you can actually loosen that or tighten it to give it all the, the structure that you need when you're packing that thing. I've never had a problem with mine. Again, not sponsored, nothing to do with this channel. Coast, the Rod Mule, amazing for any co-angler or anybody that moves 2 to 12 rods in and around places, gives you the opportunity to pack them around. I've been looking at them. I think they're going to be stellar for catfish rods, especially if you're using 10 footers that have 2 pieces that are 5 foot in length. You could throw this in this Rod Mule and have them all together in one fell swoop. There's a lot of people packing 3 to 5 to 7 rods to a catfish lake, especially in big tournaments, which is, could happen. I think it's a great thing. Speaking of which, if you don't know, Shimano actually came out with a surf rod recently that is designed for pay lake fishing. I'm actually going to pick up a couple of them and fish them this year for the catfishing that I do, which I do rarely, a couple times a year, but it's always fun to get out to shorties and places like that and catch some fish. But Shimano has their own rod. You guys are going to see it hit the channel very soon. Last but not least, good rain gear. When I say good rain gear, I mean quality rain gear. There is a huge disconnect when it comes to some rain gear. You see people, I got some good rain gear. I personally fished with Frog Togs for a while. Frog Togs were the absolute bee's knees for a long time. Everybody had Frog Togs. Everybody had those like tarp style Frog Togs. And from what I understand, Frog Togs makes different stuff now, but those old tarp style Frog Togs, they were the biggest pile of crap I've ever had in my life. You would get probably more wet wearing them than when you did if you didn't wear them. I just hated those things. You just get drenched when you're fishing because there was no cuff on them. Basically, you just have rub, something like this, and water you're up, you got your hands up all the time fishing. That water just runs right down in there. And you guys have all been there. Even in a super high end rain suit, you're still going to get it, but not near as much as something that's really cheap. My two favorite ones are the Bass Pro 100 mile per hour suit. That is my absolute go-to. I have that one. It's like an all-weather deal. Does really good in cold weather, really good in warm or hot weather. You're not gonna burn up. But I did recently look online because I had people trying to buy them, and I was like, they were asking me what I wear, and I was like, 100 mile per hour suit. Unless you want to spend some money, then buy some Stormer stuff. None of this is cheap, by the way. You're looking at $550 to $600 for a Bass Pro 100 mile per hour suit. And if you're talking about Stormer Striker, you're looking at about $800. Ton of money, but I would pay $800 a year probably to stay dry in some of the harsh environments that I'm fishing in. But the Bass Pro 100 mile per hour suits are no longer being made, from what I understand. It looks like Johnny Morris has come up with some kind of elite angler stuff or something. I was looking on there. They absolutely don't look like anything like the old Bass Pro stuff. I could tell you that I've owned the Bass Pro 100 mile per hour suit, the bibs, and a parka for the better part of the last 8 years, and they're still 100% waterproof. I don't get a bit wet when I'm wearing those things. If the weather is going to be cold and I'm going to be fishing like I did the other day in Lake St. Clair or Lake Erie, having that stuff, having the super cold weather. When we took out of the marina the other day, it was 19 degrees with 30 miles per hour wind, and I knew exactly what I was going to be wearing. So I brought my Stormer Striker gear, which is what you see the bibs here on the screen, and I let Dusty wear my 100 mile per hour suit. He didn't get cold or wet. I didn't get cold or wet. But if you're talking about super cold weather, Stormer Striker is there's none better. It's a neoprene suit. It is positive buoyant, which means if you fall in the water, it'll keep you afloat. Do not replace this with a PFD. This is not in any way supposed to replace your personal flotation device, but most rain suits will fight you in water. They'll be getting soaked and they'll get saturated, and they're going to be more weight on you, including the 100 mile per hour suit. If you were to fall in, you're going to be probably better off if you could get that stuff off of you when you're in the water. That is not the case with the Stormer Striker. It's neoprene core technology. If you fall in the water, it's going to be positive buoyant, which is going to be something that's going to allow you to, not have to swim as hard. You can actually just sit there and float, which is really pretty daggone cool. What's up, Micah? Store your rod sleeves on fishing and cooler. Leave mine in a truck. Carry my rods as a boat. So I have a Shimano Black Moon backpack. That thing has more room in it than I feel like that you could probably pack a week's worth of clothes in it for me to go to the beach. They're huge. They're giant. Me personally, that's what I do with mine. I just roll them up around my hand in a tight ball, and I just stuff them in. They have side pockets in there, no doubt. Put them right in there. They have a top pocket. They fit in there, no doubt. Very easily. There's no, it doesn't. They don't come out. Another thing that I do with them, if I'm not using them and I don't have that storage option, is that I will roll them up in a ball like I'm talking about, a bunch of them, and then wrap one around it, kind of like a snake or coil. And then I'll just throw them in my pocket or something in my rain suit. Again, I always carry a rain suit, even as a co-angler. Stuff those babies in the pockets of those things. But again, I'm usually carrying 5-6 rods max. So sometimes if I'm not using the rods, I'll just throw them back on the rods, because I have these little elastic strips that have basically like alligator clips or plastic clips that clip on them. And you take that elastic band and wrap it around the handle of your reel, and that keeps them from flying off if you're running down the lake, either in your boat or as a co-angler. Yeah, man, Mark, that's the deal, man. You can look at any cheap frog togs out there, and they always split, man. And they made frog togs, which what kills me. They made them for hunting. That was where they very first made their debut. And I swear to you, man, you could get out of your truck in a cornfield or in a hayfield that had been cut 3 days before that, and by the time you walk through that corn or that hayfield, those things would be shredded off from you, and they sounded like walking with a regular tarp on them. Yeah, Misty is correct. Stormer has a female version. It's they're fit for females, and they're also like a really cool purple collar. So that is it. So again, those are the 5 things that I am going to say that I'm never going to go fishing without. That is, first and foremost, those little split ring pliers from Mustad. They are an absolute go-to. They're less than $8 if you're looking for something to get your buddy for fishing for Christmas. Definitely don't overlook those, because he's going to think that he or she is going to think that you spent $100 on those things, because they work that well. They're that good of quality for less than $10. You get them at Bass Pro. Walmart sells them online. I'm sure you can get them on Amazon. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure the Tackle Box doesn't have them. Borders may have them. I'm not sure. Dick's, somewhere like that. But I know you can get them at Walmart, Amazon, Bass Pro, places like that. Again, they're KVD branded now. They're just 5-inch split ring pliers, but the cutters on them are absolutely phenomenal. The S2 slider net, again, $135. But if you're looking as an angler for something that somebody, your significant other or something, can give you, $150 is not usually too bad for a Christmas present. I wouldn't think so. Something you definitely look at. Definitely look at getting the medium hoop, unless you're fishing or for walleye or catfish or something like that, and you can get a bigger. The compact net is actually not so bad of a deal. It's actually fits a little bit better in places. The handle's not as long, but hey, I'm a bass fisherman. I don't need that thing to, go out to 5-6 feet. But the ability to extend those nets out is definitely a different feeling. It's definitely a game changer. You definitely need to go out and check one out yourself. Remember to get the rubber net mesh. Do not get the nylon mesh in any net, whatever that is, because I'm telling you, like I said before, I feel like that you can cast a crankbait 6 miles from a net that has nylon on it and still get it hung up in it. It just absolutely blows my mind how you can get it in there. It's like putting headphones in your pocket. What happens? They come out, look like they've been in a Royal Rumble, and they're like, didn't know you could tie knots like that in your pocket. It's hard to say. And then we're going to look at, we had the Yolatech Power Stick. And again, I am an affiliate of that, so take that for what it's worth. But I'm telling you that not because I get paid when you buy stuff from them. I'm telling you this because it's an absolute product that I believe in. Again, you're going to have about, if you're just getting into filming stuff, the GoPro Hero 10, which is not the newest one now, is going to be about $300 and about $150 for that power stick. You're going to be less than $500 to get set up, and that's going to be all you ever need. I'm telling you, the GoPro Hero 10 rocks. I do have videos out there showing you how to edit stuff, showing you the proper settings, and I also have a YouTube video out there talking about what the best bang for your buck is on a GoPro. I start all the way out from like a GoPro Hero 3 all the way up to the GoPro Hero 8 in that video, I believe. But the better you can get, more bang for your buck you're going to get. Anything that has looping, which not all of them do. If you're going to be fishing with a GoPro, there's 2 things that I do want you to make sure you're doing. Is one, that they have the looping feature, which again, not all of the GoPros do, which is weird to me. That's just a software feature, but not all the GoPros have the looping feature. And second off, not all GoPros have video navigation or video voice commands. Those are 2 absolute musts for me. That one, I can talk to the camera, say GoPro start recording, it will record. When I say GoPro stop recording, it will stop recording. I can do that from the front of my boat while I'm fishing. I catch a fish, and while I'm putting this thing in a live well, I can say GoPro stop recording. It captures the last 5 minutes of footage. I put the fish in the live well. GoPro start recording. It's going to start looping again. It's just second nature for me anymore. Next one is going to be the Coast Rod Mule. Again, not affiliated with them at all. The Coast Rod Mule is something that I would recommend for any co-angler out there, or anybody that maybe you don't even bass fish for tournaments. Maybe you just like grabbing 5 or 6 rods, taking them to your buddy's boat, and you go fishing, and you want to be able to pack them back and forth a lot more, in one package. You're not grabbing 3 or 4 rods in one hand, 3 or 4 rods in the other, while having your, so for example, for me, like if I'm fishing as a co-angler in a big tournament, like an FLW, BFL or something, these people are somebody that I've probably never met in my life, except for the night before. I don't know what boat they're fishing out of. I don't know how much space they have. My average setup right now is a Coast Rod Mule, just like I showed you, with about 5 to 7 rods max. I rarely take 7 unless I'm going someplace where I've never been and I don't know what we're going to be throwing. Usually about 5, 6 rods. and the Coast Rod Mule. And then I have the Shimano Black Moon backpack, some rain gear, and I always take my own life jacket, a PFD. I have an inflatable one. I like it a lot. It's a Mustang. Really like it. But that's a lot of stuff to carry to somebody's boat. When in reality, with that Black Moon backpack on there, I can put that on my back. I actually strap my PFD to that thing, and I have I usually wear my rain suit in the morning because it's usually chilly where I'm fishing, even Lake St. Clair and places like that. It's usually chilly enough to wear that thing, and as it starts warming up, I'll put that thing underneath my Black Moon backpack. But there's a ton of stuff to carry. Putting that in there, and it gives me the option to do that. Do more consistently and make it more concise. And going back to that, yeah. So the Rod Mule is again something that I would never go fishing without. I feel like it's something that for $50 or less, you're going to be you're going to think twice. You're like, man, $50 or something to carry my rods in. That's what I thought. And then I bought one, and now I would probably pay $150 for it. It's that good of quality, and it saves me that much more heartache and headache, and it does save wear and tear on my rods when I'm packing them around. It allows me to leave my reel seat and my reel covers on them. Allows me to let leave my rod sleeves on there and carry them over to another boat. I wish there was a company out there. Coast has them, but they're super bulky and they're super expensive. I wish there was a company out there that would make clear lure covers that were kind of like clamshell that were not $20 a piece. Coast makes some really nice ones, but they're really huge. They are clear. They're see-through. They have Velcro on them. And the reason that I would want to see that is because if you're carrying 5, 6, 7, 8 rods, 12 rods in that rod mule like that, unless you have something over the lures, that's the only problem I've ever seen is that sometimes my lures will get tangled up in the line of other rods. If you had those lure covers, you could negate that. But again, the ones that Coast and other people make are really giant. They look like they would hold like a 5-inch swim bait, and they're like $20 a piece. So if you figure you're carrying 5, 6 rods in there, you're looking 100, 150, 160 bucks in clear, lure covers, and that's just not something that I'm interested in. So if any of you guys out there are looking to make a couple dollars, especially from Waller here at OnAnotherLine, make something that will I can see my lures through that aren't so giant, and you can just clamshell them up. I've often thought about something, and you guys can run with this if you wish, because I might give you $1 billion idea right here. You guys remember those old school like football change purses you used to get you go like open up a bank account at a Federal Credit Union or something like that, and they would have these little change purses that you would press on both ends, and they would actually split open, and you could put change in there. Couldn't put a ton of change in there, but if you could make one of those clear that would just go over the lure and attach to the line, that would be all you need. It wouldn't have to attach anywhere else, but it would be really handy to take on and off. Could do it with like metal wire or something like that. Put it over to that thing, release it, it captures it, press it again, pull it off, make a clear resin or something like that. It's not going to get hooked, and that's probably $1 million product right there. So if you guys beat me to the punchline, so be it. But I'll buy some of them. Pretty cool idea. So with that being said, guys, that is 5 things that I would never go fishing without that is not tackle related. J.R. White gave me an awesome idea for a video that I'm going to be trying to do here in the next couple of days. It's something I can do off the water. He said, one of the things that I have the most least confidence about is grabbing the right rod for the technique that I'm fishing. He's like, how do you know what rod you're going to throw what baits on and what reels need to be paired with that, etc. And which is an amazing question, especially for somebody just getting into fishing or somebody that may not know a difference. Like myself, when I very first got into fishing, I was probably throwing everything on like a 6-foot medium heavy rod on, whatever I can throw, 25-pound test, whatever I can get my hands on. But having the ability to match a rod to a technique specific setup and showing why I do that, that's one of the next videos you guys are going to see on my YouTube channel. I have a ton of rods. I have 25 plus rods in my boat, and they're all super high end. One thing I don't want you to do is watch that video and say, wow, these are rods that I can't afford. I'm not going to be fishing that. That's not what this video is about. It's all about the actions. It's all about the rods. It's all about the reels. It's also all about the line that I have set up on my my reels. Again, am I saying I'm a professional? No. I'm going to explain why I have these rods set up the way they are, and we'll have some conversation about it, have some banter about it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys can teach me what I'm doing wrong as far as with the rods that I have. But I'm going to do a video out there that explains what ride and reel combos I have set up for each technique, and I'm going to explain to you why it is I think that that's the way it should be set up. Again, I'm not, I'm not a pro. I don't claim to be. You may look at my rod setup and be like, wow, this guy is an idiot. He don't know anything about fishing. But I'm going to show you what I got, and we're going to talk about it. So if that interests you, it'll be coming out on YouTube here very, very soon. And if you guys would like to see somebody on the show or know somebody that would be interested in coming talking about fishing, let me know. I'd love to have them on here. We're about 50 minutes in, and we are going to wrap it up this evening, guys. 5 things that I'll never go fishing without. You guys saw them. Again, the 5-inch split ring pliers from Mustad. They're KVD branded. Looking at definitely the S2 slider. It's Ego S2 slider. Again, not affiliated at all. This is something I picked up at ICAST this past year. The Ego S2 slider. There's the S1 Genesis. They actually have an S2, which is the one that I like. The S1 is actually, this is the one you want right here. I had the S1 pulled up. But the S2 slider, this thing has a foam padded handle. It has floating grips on it. Extends out. The compact one, I think, extends out to 60 inches, which is a ton from 30 inches. So it's extending double its length when it's compact, or when it's actually not extended, collapsed, if you will. Again, the Yolatech Power Stick 53-inch. Again, because I film everything that's on the water, it keeps me from changing batteries. If you're interested in getting your hands on one of those, shoot me a message. I'll get you a code that'll save you some dough. The next one. The last one was talking about the quality Rainsuit. Fish what you can afford, buy the best you can afford. There's definitely a difference there between what you're fishing. My favorite two are the Bass Pro 100-mile-per-hour suit, and if you're fishing cold weather, look at the Stormer Striker gear. Amazing stuff. And again, we talked about the Rod Mule from Cal Coast. Again, not affiliated in any means, just something I use and something I definitely back and definitely believe in. So appreciate it. It is all good. So anyway, we will see you guys next time on Another Line Live. We'll be talking about more about fishing next week. Hopefully I can get out this week and do some fishing so we can talk about why I suck at fishing in fall, which we talked about before. Now we're moving into that winter period, so maybe I can start catching some fish on jerk baits or whatever. I'll be heading out on the river here soon. Muskie are a chomping on the river, and I want to catch another one. So I'm going to go down below the dam, see what I can do down there. Maybe I'll do that this weekend. We'll see. But anyway, you guys know the routine. If you guys can, get out there and lean on them. We'll see you next time on Another Line.